congratulations. It's your first time you've gotten yourself a million Kenyan shilling, all right? Now here you are, you're confused. You're like, okay, I have this a million bob. Do I go the land buying way? Do I go the farming way? Or do I go the MMF? Or do I go the bond and what have you? By the way, have you noticed what I've been doing lately? It's like I'm offering what we call the financial, like, using real thing to make a practical, finding a practical solution. Probably you are there, you're sitting on your money and you're confused, you don't know what to take. Just grab this piece of information, and maybe if you feel like it is not yet satisfied or hasn't solved all the challenges and the problems that you're facing, you can always grab that number of mine from the description of this specific video. Shoot me a call. There is an email there. If you're outside the country, you can as well shoot me that email. If you're Kenyan diaspora living somewhere, like you don't know what to invest on, go ahead, grab that number, give me a call, let's talk business, all right? Here we are now. And by the way, don't forget to smash that like button, make sure that you subscribe, because I'm going to be talking about this by God's grace, all about finances, money, and everything. So you don't be left behind, and make sure that as well you leave a comment on the comment section. Okay, fine, enough with all that introduction. Now, here we are. See, you have yourself a million, okay? Now, this a million, and by the way, for those who are watching me and you're non-Kenyans, just use the concept. Okay, forget about the currency, what is a million, just use the concept. Now, you have yourself a million, okay, and you're confused, you don't know which one is the best for you. And of course, in Kenya, we usually have this kind of a character. The moment someone gets their first million, what comes in their head? You're right, buying a land. And I'm not saying buying a land is bad. It's an amazing thing. I love lands and all those kind of things. But when to acquire them, this is where people don't get it right. Now, here we are. See, let's check what we stand to gain when we buy the land. Unless we dissect these issues, that's the time you can realize what we're gonna gain as the best. So if we buy yourself a land, obviously with a million shilling in Kenya, we'll get you quite of a presentable place. Well, of course, not you're not neighboring cities anyway. That's for sure. It's a couple of kilometers from the cities anyway. A million shilling, that's like 10,000 USD. Now, the issue is, now if you get a land in Kenya, they appreciate at a rate of 7 to 10% at best, 7 to 10%, but average one is 7%. The rate at which they appreciate per year, unless a crazy thing happens. Maybe there is a railway passes there, I don't know, airport next to you, but how frequent do those things happen? But anyway, here you are. So that means at the end of the year, probably this land will appreciate by 70,000 if I'm not wrong. Or let me just be a little bit fair. Let me say at the end of that particular year, that land will be around 1.1 million. Let me just say that. Of which it's not that easy, but let's just assume after 1 year we buy a land, it will be 1.1 million. The second year, obviously, doesn't have a compound interest. It will be like 1.2 million or something of sort. Doesn't have a compound interest. I don't know whether you know that. Buying a land and its appreciation is not a compound interest. There you have yourself a 1.2 and you continue 1.3, blah, 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 blah. So now the question is this. If you get yourself a land, obviously there is this, most of the people buy land because of the selfish purposes, okay? When I say selfish purposes, of course, when I'm buying land, of course, I'm also selfish purposes. I'm not excluding myself out of the equation. What I mean is this, there is this, especially with men, they just want to feel like, I own a land. I have a piece of land somewhere, there is that satisfaction, there is that, whatever. And then we may have somebody on the comment section says, hey, it's not about cash, it's not about making money, it's not about profit, it's about the satisfaction. I totally agree with you. It depends. But if you're here and you're interested on making money and making maximum out of your cash, for the God's sake, you've gotten your million for the first time. You've never seen this money before. This is the first time. Don't rush in making decisions. Take your time. So land, this is what you stand to gain if you purchase yourself a land. Now, second option. What if you decide to do farming? Now, because I told you last time, or there's a video, you can go check it out. I said the next millionaires, or not only in Kenya, but globally, will come from 3 industries. 1, agriculture. 2, beauty, everything to do with beauty, fashion, and what have you. And 3, technology. Okay? Now, point is this. When you actually get yourself into farming, if you get yourself into something, there are 2 ways of getting yourself into farming. You can decide to show up in a place, quite over remote places anyway, purchase yourself a land. Probably that land will cost you 480K per acre. Okay, per acre, and then you start getting yourself into farming. But Well, the point is this: instead of you buying, that's option A of buying. B, you can actually lease. You can lease the land, or you can lease a land. In Kenya, leasing a 1 acre of land is 15,000. 15,000. 15,000 is equivalent to like $100. By the way, it's like $100 or $120 thereabout. You lease a whole acre of land for the rest of the year. That's the amount of money they charge here in Kenya. Now, if you get yourself $1 million, you can throw it into land leasing. You can lease yourself a couple of acres. By the way, I was doing quick mathematics, and I'm sharing this because I have an interest on it. I was actually doing some quick mathematics. For you to lease actually 20 acres of land, even with $1 million, you're good to go. I mean, $1 million shilling, you can lease even 20 acres of land. You can get yourself into wheat farming. You can get yourself into potato farming. You can get yourself, like, it will cost you approximately of 720,000 to plant or to, farm like 20 acres of potatoes or something of sort. Again, if there are farmers watching me on this video, come on, they can verify me on the comment section. But personally, I've been doing research and something of sort. You can actually go ahead and get yourself into the farming. You lease a land, and then from there, and for example, if you go the onion farming, they are known to give you over 200% of your returns. And I'm assuming, like, what if you just farm with 400k and then you get another 400k? That's a good to go. And after all, it's after 5 months. I understand it's quite risky, blah blah blah, and all those kind of things. But you're looking forward into growing this money, not playing the safe game too early. Unless you reached your $1 million maybe when you are 60, of which it happens, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. It happens. The thing is, I don't know, by the way, just tell me in the comment section, when did you get your first $1 million? At what age were you? Some people get it at 21, some people get it at 30, some people get it at 50 or 60. Depends, okay? By the way, I would share that now. Now, let's continue. Here we are. Now, what happens when it comes to the farming? You can actually do it that way. The other option of getting yourself into farming, you can decide to do. There is this idea that I always love. I don't know whether because I've ever tried it, and also I've ever been with the people who do that thing called the animal fattening. You can actually lease yourself a land somewhere, just put quote unquote some sort of a temporary perimeter wall or something, and get somebody to look after your animals. Buy those animals from the auction market, place them there, just give them the required vitamins and take care of them for a little bit, like a month or two. Then after that, you can resell them at a better price, and you're at a capital gain. I mean, you're at a profit, so you can get yourself into the farm. And probably, yeah, maybe you're employed, time in be a limiting factor. And I always tell people, fine, if you want to buy yourself a car, nowadays you can even buy a car worth like 400,000. You get yourself 600,000. Show up to a place, lease that land for 2 years or 3 years. Get yourself the animals there, place them there. Get the deals from town where they are doing the butchering, where they are doing actually the slaughterhouses and what have you. You are in business, okay? You're going to get something out of that. The car that you bought for 400,000 or something of sort, you can even buy yourself a truck or a pick. When I say truck in Kenya, it means a different thing. Okay, fine. Kenyans, I'm talking about a pickup, not a big lorry or a tipper. Yeah, I'm saying that's because Americans called that pickup a truck. Okay, I have to verify myself on that. Hey, where will I buy a truck worth 400,000? I'm not talking about a lorry, my Kenyans, yeah. Now, here we are. Now, what happens? You can actually, there's an option that you can pick yourself. Why am I picking those? Because it doesn't have a lot of moving parts. Because some people may argue, hey, I have a lot of, I have a job, I'm occupied, I'm busy, I don't have time to show up to that particular place. So how about now? You can go with that route, okay? You need to show up. By the way, you can also get yourself in sugarcane farming. It's also an option. It's a thing that is actually happening. There are people who are doing that and they're making some cash. Remember one thing, farming is the area where people will actually make, you cannot download a burger from a computer. You cannot. Now, the other thing you can actually get yourself into, as far as the $1 million shilling is concerned, you can get yourself into an MMF, okay? Of course, MMF, I won't talk much about it. Anyway, allow me not to say nothing about it. After all, you know what it is, and it is what it is. You already know what it is, and I don't want to spend much of the time discussing it. For example, if you're watching this video for the first time, MMF offers you compound interest. You can throw your money out there. And of course, the moment you clock the 3rd year, your money being there, that's time you start to realize the crazy multiplication of your money, and you can actually make some good returns out of the cash that you had drawn out there. So now the question is this now, what is the best option? For God's sake, you've gotten yourself the $1 million bob. You have it in your pocket. You're confused. This is what I always tell people. And I want you can even forget what I said on that board. Listen, the moment you get your money, please don't act in haste. Well, I understand speed is necessary when it comes to growth and whatever, because time waits no one. But at the same time, don't just behave or act as if investment is an emergency. For God's sake, it is not an emergency. You need to understand what do you stand to gain. Get yourself a pen and paper. By the way, after this video, you can even go to a supermarket, grab yourself a diary or grab yourself a notebook, take a pen and take a paper. Sit down somewhere where you're not disturbed, okay? And ask yourself, I have this a million shilling. Get a whole page, just explain, I want to get into the farming. List all the advantages of getting into the farming, the prospective earnings, the period of time you have to wait, and the requirements, the accessibilities, how all those things, just write them. Get another whole page. Write about the advantage of getting yourself into a money market fund. What do I get? Or what do I get? Will it actually be able to get up for whatever I need? Then go to another page. Write another thing. If I get myself into something like buying myself a land because I'm prospecting that one day I'm gonna build. Okay, when is that one day will you gonna build that specific house? And at what rate is this land actually appreciating? And by the way, do you need the assets now or do you need the cash flow? Do you need to safeguard your money or do you need to grow your money? Because those are two different things. And then the last thing you ask yourself, what if I get myself into another thing of business or something? Just what I'm trying to simply tell you is this. And remember, before you even do all those writings, at the back of your head, you know what you want. You know your goal. Because you cannot just pick anything because people are investing. We pick a thing that is actually, we pick a vehicle that will reach us to the destination. If your destination is to get a cash flow of, say, 10,000 a month, 3,000 a month, 50,000, whatever the thing it is, now you look for the vehicles that will take you to that particular destination. Because the problem that I usually see people do is that somebody say, hey, what is this MMF? I just want to get myself into it. Hey, what is this bond? I just want to get myself. What is this stocks? You get yourself into it because people are getting into that. You don't understand. If you get me, personally, I'm into bonds. I'm into the stocks. I'm into those. You don't just throw yourself money into that because you don't know where I'm heading. It's like just getting me riding a vehicle and you just get in and come on. You just need to understand what you want and where you are heading, then pick the vehicle that will actually take you to that particular destination. So you really need to think and ask yourself, if I do this, I start to get this. If I do this, there are people who will be like, okay, this a million bob is enough for me to import things from China and start selling there here in Kenya. Oh, this amount of money is enough for me to go and fund a startup business or a startup company and go ahead and do the thing. There's someone who will be like, this a million bob is enough for me to go and buy the most cream de la cream stocks or shares in Kenya or in Nairobi Securities Exchange, and you stand there. So we pick vehicles that works for you, but for God's sake, try to make sure that you dissect to get the best value out of your money. That's the most important thing. Please get the best value out of your money. Don't just pick anything. There was a certain lady who called me. She had picked the money for school fees and threw it into the treasury bill. Was it bills or bonds? Either bills, I bet. And she was like, Joseph, how do I withdraw that money because I'm supposed to pay school fees in next weekend? And I was like, oh my goodness. Didn't you even know what are bills? Did you even consult your financial advisor to understand what are bills? What is the... You don't just pick a thing and you start moving with it. And that's why you find most people get caught. For example, I talked about, a city here in Kenya, the fifth city here in Kenya, actually, so to speak. It was actually given that charter juicy or recently. People were conned. They were being promised 18% per month returns. Really, 18% per month returns. That is 216% returns per year. Ulisikia wapi? Where have you ever heard of that? It doesn't happen. Why? Because you just rush into investing without understanding. And that's why I always tell people, please, at all the time, make sure that you contact your financial advisor. People who are known, people who are legit, people who understands what are finances. They take you through, they understand your situation so that at least by the time you end that session, you already know this one is appropriate and right for me. This one is not, this is it, and this is how I'm going to get started. Because people are actually disregarding the issues of getting, professionals to take them and all. Or even if you don't want to deal with professionals anyway, you can just go pick somebody who has already invested. Personally, myself, I actually learned these things about investment from people who have invested. Yeah, I have a friend of mine who is my mentor. He's an old mzee somewhere. I respect you, sir. Okay, he said I should never mention his name anyway. It is what it is. But he's the one who told me, Joseph, this is how you get into stocks. Joseph, this is how you get into shares. Joseph, this is how you get yourself into bills, into bonds, into MMF, into everything. That's what I got from that gentleman. Now, get an individual. talk to them, pick somebody who is doing that what you love most, learn from them, and that is how you progress yourself to the next level. So if when you see this amount of money you get it cash, please don't rush into investing it. Make sure that you get the best deal. That's good, Joseph. That's my submission. It's the end of my video. Don't forget to go ahead and shoot that comment on the comment section, that like, and as well subscribing. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.